This video is for a Dinky Lunar Rover 355, released as a kit which you could actually make yourself, which is the sort of colour scheme this one is based on, or there was a blue one as well which was a pre-built model. This isn't that great condition and the wheels are a bit wonky, so let's see what we can do with this. This is a NASA clip of Apollo 15, and 16 and 17 also had a lunar rover, which is what this model is based on, so this is the real thing. But this is what we've got. Not too bad, it still moves. There's a nice little control in the middle which does the left and the right for the wheels. Quite a novel steering mechanism, and the paint finish isn't too bad, a little bit scratched, and it's quite oxidized as well, so we're going to need to do something about that. And the wheels are very wobbly, and I think that's just because the pins aren't pushed in far enough, so that would be quite an easy fix. Taking apart the Lunar Rover is fairly easy. There's a couple of screws that basically hold the base plate in position. Undoing these lets you take the plate off, and you can see how the wheels have got like two steering mechanisms. There's a battery cover there that's taken off the back, and screw at the front is like I presume it's something like a solar array or something similar that it's supposed to represent. Take that off. That's sort of still got some sort of chromish finish on it, which should be sufficient. The two astronauts just pull out. They're just held in with their plastic stubs. This one's lost a fair bit of paint, and they're a bit grimy as well, so we'll need to clean up on those. That's the top plate off, and that's the steering bar that connects the front and rear steering arms. The wheels just sort of pull out, and they're going to be fairly easy to sort out. Luckily the wheels weren't driven in too hard, so it's fairly straightforward with a pair of pliers on each one of those just to pull the pin out, and when we reassemble we'll do a better job and get them a bit more. Lunar Rover was pretty oxidized, so I'm going to use some Zepp limescale cleaner. You can get this from supermarkets, and I got this from Screwfix. It's a sort of limescale and rust remover. Does a really good job at removing the limescale. You'll see it bubbling up, and it does a good job. Needs to be cleaned up at the end of it though, and to do that we're going to have to just probably use some wire wool. That sequence was speeded up a little bit, but you can see the bubbles that when you leave it for about 15 minutes, and that's really cleaning up the surface. So just pull this thing out, and it doesn't look that clean to start with, but if you give it a little bit of a brush with the wire wool, you immediately see the effect, and it kind of brushes off the surface. I suppose it's taken off the oxidization quite well. You can see it shines up fairly quickly and fairly well. This is a good finish if you wanted to leave it shiny, but even better if you wanted to paint over it as well. So you're not going to have anything affecting the paint, and it's a nice smooth finish. Carry this out on the top piece as well, which contains the seats. Do both sides of that, and pull that out and give that a clean, and the same sort of treatment with some wire wool. Really does give a nice finish. I tried this without putting it in the limescale dip, and definitely didn't come out as well, so Going to be using this quite often in the future. So that's limescale remover, very good. Going for the dial paint strip again, and it's just a question of dropping all pieces in. It's a little container, giving it plenty of paint stripper, and then leaving that to set for about an hour or more in this case. Also put some of it on the wheels as well, and quite surprisingly this did a really good job on the rubber wheels. So taking out the pieces now, I'm going to go give them all clean, just get some loose paint off, and give them a wash as well probably. And here you can see the wheels, and they're kind of like really shiny rubber. So that was a really good result with those. Hot soapy water gets rid of the paint stripper, and we get a nice finish off of this. So this cleans this up well, and same with the wheels. They're going in the limescale dip just to give them a clean, get rid of some oxidation, and we're going to do the same for the wheel covers as well once they've had the paint stripped off. Other bits and pieces like the solar battery pack, actually we're going to leave the solar panel array in its original finish.
Alexa, timer 15.
This is it all coming out of the cleaner. Make it easy to paint the rims. Just going to mount them on some cocktail sticks with some holes drilled in a bit of wood. Give them a bit of wire brush as well after they come out of the limescale cleaner. Before I start painting, I'm going to mask up the wheels because we just want the outside painted. Masking tape applied judiciously to all the interior surfaces. Nothing clever here, just really sort of fixing it down firm, just to make sure we've got all four covered. And the backs of the battery panel as well. Before I start painting, I'm going to mask up the wheels because we just want the outside painted. Masking tape applied judiciously to all the interior surfaces. Nothing clever here, just really sort of fixing it down firm, just to make sure we've got all four covered. And the backs of the battery panel as well. Start off with a grey undercoat, which turned out to be a mistake actually, but we'll carry on with this at the moment. The Vallejo paint that I was using was a fire orange, and it didn't like going over a grey actually. So I had to go back over and do these white, and I'll show what colour this orange came out on grey compared to white. The wheel rims just painted grey as well. I'm going to use Molotow chrome finish paint for these air sprayed on, which really does give a good chrome finish. So here's the orange going down on the grey cover. And it already starts looking a little bit darker. It normally takes a couple of coats to get the colour, so I wasn't too worried to start with, but this sort of brown, it never got rid of this, and sort of stayed this sort of tan orange. This is the Molotow chrome going on, and this is a fantastic paint finish. The only problem is it doesn't really sort of go off very well, so you have to put a lacquer coat over that, and I'll put an Alcad clear gloss on top of that. But you can see the finish on these. They really do look like they're chrome dipped, which is not bad for a spray paint. So this is an orange. As you can see, it's like a brown strange colour, so this all had to come off, paint stripped off and restart. Back to the paint booth, and we've painted them white undercoat, and this is an amazing transformation now. So the first colour that goes down sort of comes out yellow, and as soon as you put the second coat on, it comes out like an orange, and you can see already like this bright orange, which is what it was supposed to be in the first place. Quite remarkable. So something to remember in the future: no grey, just white. And this is the Alclad clear coat 2, which I'm going to put over the wheels, stop the fingerprints appearing on the chrome surface there. Still keeps it. Off comes the masking tape, and we see if we've done a good job at masking that up, and yeah, it looks good. I'm going to clean up the inside of that, and that's a really good result now. 4 covers. Tyres get soaked in boiling water, makes them a bit more pliable and much easier to push back onto the rim. Boots and gloves are painted in a flat Tamiya blue, fairly straightforward. Acrylics, a bit worn from the years of play, but nice and clean again. And we've got some gold leaf Tamiya, which are going to paint the visors. The originals had like a gold visor on them, so just a couple of coats of that. You obviously need the gold visor to keep the sun out of your eyes when you're driving around on the moon's surface. I downloaded and fiddled around with a replica of the moon's surface, actually from a NASA file, and then printed this out, not to scale of course, but something that looks good. Just sprayed it grey, grey primer, sprinkled it all over while it was still wet with baking powder, and then sprayed it again, and a bit of plywood with some oak varnish on, and that's going to look a nice little display stand for the Lunar Rover. At last, the fun bit, putting it all back together again, and did a couple of dry runs in this, and what I worked out the best way of doing this was taking the top part and putting it upside down, and then just laying all the pieces in and lining up the wheels. I think they're marked LRA and LRB for one side and one side for the other, so it's not too hard to work out which way around they go, and then the steering bar at each end. The screws go back in, and Clever design in that they use the battery cover, which is this one, sort of to pull the thing together, and the other one which I'm calling the solar array, but it could be pretty much anything, and these screws just sort of tighten up quite easily. Much easier with Dinkies actually. Seems to be all the ones I've had so far are screw fastening, so no rivets to replace. One of the things I did as well is I actually bought another one of these Lunar Rovers for about £2 on eBay, and primarily just to get this little white control cap which goes onto the steering column. Seems almost impossible to get replacements for these little parts, for this part in particular. And the Lunar Rover isn't particularly well supported. It's not a large fan base, I think, for this. We're just going to push the astronauts back in, and then it's ready to go. Here it is sitting on its base. Looks particularly Moon Rover ready. Here's the finished article, a Lunar Rover actual model 1027 from the kit, but also similar to the 355 Lunar Rover. If you like these and other restos that I'm doing and other bits and pieces, then please subscribe, and see you on the next video.